in much more depth than we usually do.
Are live.
With the, you didn't say that with like enough like depth to your volume there.
I'm not trying to get copyrighted.
Okay, I was just gonna try and give you another opportunity, but apparently not.
We know how those videos are about their lines.
Yeah, right. We have a banger of a freaking main card here, man. I mean, if
throw your money at it. If you got the money to spend for a Saturday night, throw it out.
Although I do have a problem with this first fight.
I get it though.
Sean, go ahead, call it, man.
So
call it. Just call it for me.
Greg Hardy from the NFL, who was kicked out of that league, has had a few fights in the UFC. Lots of controversy.
Ton of controversy.
3 or 4 fights that he's had. Will be taking on Yorgan de Castro, who has 5 knockouts and 6 wins.
This one should be interesting. I would say. Greg Hardy, regardless of how you feel about him, I think he started getting a little bit of respect from people in his last fight that he took on short notice. He fought
Volkov.
Yeah, he fought Volkov, who's a great heavyweight, a lot of experience. And he fought a good fight on a really short notice, so he gained a little bit of respect from people for that. But before that, man, he was nothing but controversy, whether it was kneeing somebody when they were on the ground, whether it was bringing his inhaler gate, which you're not supposed to have in the middle of the fight, and he's like taking puffs on his inhaler between rounds, which he was not like allowed to do or anything. And then there was was it an eye poke or was it an illegal elbow?
I think it was an elbow.
It was an elbow. So in his first 3 fights, he had very, very controversial fights. And
he's a controversial guy.
1, 2, 3. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It's like you're just grabbing your hair. Like, how the hell is this happening? And it just makes you wonder.
Giving him like big spots on cards.
They do, and that's what pisses me off about him being here on the main card, man. Why would this not be on ESPN? Where you figure if you have access to ESPN Plus, you're probably a football fan anyways.
They know that a lot of people would pay money to see him get his ass whooped. That's why.
It is true. I have heard that from people.
Yeah.
So, to me, it pisses me off because he shouldn't have a spot in front of a guy like the Nico Price and Vicente Luque.
This is where they should be fighting.
100%. They should actually have trade spots for this one, I think. And that's nothing against Yorgan de Castro, but I mean the dude's got only 6 fights under his belt. He's definitely gonna be fun. I think he's gonna present a big challenge.
For Yorgan de Castro, you have a spectacular finish in this fight, dude. You're on the brink of superstardom because everybody will know the guy who knocked out Greg Hardy.
Oh, absolutely. Greg's
put a target on your back.
Oh, 100%. Now I will say, go ahead, Dan.
No, even de Castro's knockout victory over Tafa in Melbourne was outstanding.
Oh, yes.
He put that guy out to sleep. But to Ryan's point, Greg Hardy in his last fight, I mean, he showed that he has a gas tank and he had a chin on a short notice of a fight. So I honestly think he's probably had almost a full camp at this point. I think it's going to be a great fight, but at the end of the day, at any point in this fight, you're going to see most likely a knockout.
I'll give Greg Hardy this. Like, he's kind of proven what would happen if you saw like a guy who had real NFL talent fight in the UFC. Like, you can see there's ability.
Oh, definitely. And that's what a lot of people say, and I've said it too. Like, you could see that there's skill there. Like, you could tell he's athletic. He looks like everybody he's stepped into the cage against so far, he's looked like the more athletic guy by and far. And granted, he could have won all those fights had he not had those stupid controversies.
Thing, yeah.
Like when he kneed the guy that he was on the ground.
He was pretty much finished.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was. I'm trying to look back. It wasn't Juan Adams. No, it was Alan Crowder, who's a good heavyweight. He's a good heavyweight. He's had only a handful of fights, but yeah, I mean, he was beating the crap out of Crowder. Like, there's no other way to put it. And then he ended up kneeing him in the face while he was still on all fours, and Crowder ended up getting the win for that. And it's just like he could actually be. What is it? He has 5 wins. He could have 6. He could be 6-1 right now, without the controversy if he just was thinking and processing a little bit more through these fights. And the thing is, I'm not going to let him off the hook because those are things that you should know going into those fights, that you can't do that stuff. You need to know the rules going in, and he's had the training. So
he comes from American Top Team.
And he comes, yeah, exactly. And those guys are trained, man. Yeah. So you can't find a more experienced camp than American Top Team to me right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, so hopefully he gets his head on straight. If you want to see a win from Greg Hardy, he really needs to keep his head on straight. And the other thing is Yorgan de Castro, dude, this guy hits like a ton of bricks. And the thing, I think that he sneaks his shots in underneath you, so that'd be very interesting to see if Greg Hardy puts those hands out too far, because he tends to do that as well. He'll put that hand out. Yorgan's going to sneak one underneath you, man, hit you with that uppercut. He can come over top when you're getting lazy and you keep that shoulder down and you throw like a low shoulder punch. He's going to sneak over top, man. He throws some fucking bombs, and he can lay you out if he's moving backwards too, which he's done.
I'd agree.
So who are you picking?
I'm gonna have to go with the Bovado odds. We got Greg Hardy in at a -210, and Yorgan de Castro at a +170. Based off of that last fight with Volkan versus Yorgan not really showing that he has a gas tank or a chin against Top, I'm gonna go with Greg Hardy on this one.
You?
I'm going to go with the Castro.
Castro? I'm going to go with Greg Hardy.
Going to go with Hardy.
I'm going to take the better camp.
Yeah, I mean, that is the hard thing. Trust me, it wasn't easy to pick because I wanted to pick Greg Hardy on this one just from like what my brain tells me, but I don't know. I feel like we need an upset here, and I feel like this is going to be one of those. I think this is a shot where we could potentially see a big upset. Okay. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of fans are waiting for. A lot of fans have been waiting for Greg Hardy to get knocked out. Yorgan de Castro. No, I mean, look, man. People's business is their business. You know, I'm not like a big hater against Hardy or anything. Okay, let me rephrase that. I'm not a hater because of why he got kicked out of the NFL. He's gotten a lot of backlash. He lost his career in the NFL because of that stuff. He got what he deserved for that. So to me, I'm sure he's paid his penitence 100 times over for that. I just have not been happy with how he's conducted himself since he's been in the UFC. I totally get one mistake, especially when you're new. He's made 3 in a row. Back to back to back. You know you can't do that shit with the name that you have. And the fact that you did it in back-to-back fights. Sorry. Had to add that third one in there. So that's the only reason why I'm not a fan of him so far. And I'm going with de Castro on this because I can see him squeezing in a knockout here.
You could.
No.
So that's my thoughts. Let's quickly move through some. Actually, never mind. We won't go through. I can't believe they don't have any stats up here for Yorgan de Castro. He's had the Contenders Series fight, and then he's had 2 other fights in the UFC. They don't have any of his stats up.
No, they just have the top of fight up.
The UFC website is the last place you go to. We talked about this.
They're the only place that has the metric. Well, fight. Yeah, they have the fight metrics and stuff on there. So that's disappointing to see. All right. We've got it. Dan, and then go ahead and read those odds one more time because we read them a little earlier than we usually do.
Oh, yeah, hold on one second. So the odds are Greg Hardy at a -210, and Yorgan de Castro at a +170.
That's
based on Bovado.
That's about right. That's what I would expect with Hardy being the favorite with Vegas. So, all right, cool, man. That's going to be kicking off the main card. This is the money that you're paying. So let's move on to the next fight. This one's another exciting fight.
Yeah, I got a banger coming up next. You got the always exciting Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar coming out of Boston. This is a straight-up stand-up fight.
Oh, 100%. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not to mention both these guys are in the top 10 at featherweight. You got the more experienced guy versus Calvin Kattar's had quite a few fights in the UFC at this point.
He's another guy. Like, he has a couple losses in the UFC, but they've come to dudes like Renato Moicano, who was close to a title, is Zabit, who many people think will be the eventual champion of the division.
Absolutely. Zabit is a beast.
So, Kattar's got some nasty hands, man.
Yeah, he's got some serious uppercuts, straight right hands, versus Stephens, who he's got a lot of power, but they're looping punches. So I feel like, Kattar's definitely got less mileage than Stephens when it comes to the fight game. I think he's going to come in a fresher fighter, crisper with his hands. But Stephens at any point can just, catch your chin, and that's it. It's night-night, baby. But I think Calvin Kattar is definitely going to be the crisper, fresher fighter.
These are almost fights that Jeremy, like these type of guys that he struggles with, guys who are technical and who can just kind of work around him, around those. As Dan said, he throws looping punches. He's willing to throw everything into every punch because he's selling out to knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
He's not setting anything up.
He's willing to take a punch to give a punch, and for me with Calvin, crisp shots as he has, it may not work out to his advantage.
Yeah. The only thing I have with Calvin Kattar's stand-up is he doesn't throw a lot of multi-punch combos past two punches, and that's going to be my problem is because you can't do that when you're looking at a guy that can counter-strike with those haymakers like Stevens is. Calvin Kattar's got a beautiful 1-2 punch, and he likes to change levels on it, which I like too. But he can turn that very habitual and just do that over and over again. That's what Zabit was just crushing him on, was the fact that he kept doing that, and then he reaches in on that. He leaves a lot of his weight on that front leg, and Jeremy Stevens can kick. He has nice low kicks too, so. It's going to be a tough one, I think, for Calvin Kattar and see what he can do with his boxing with a very experienced guy like Jeremy Stevens. Granted, Stevens, you got to ask where his mental game's at. He's had a few losses, granted, against Jose Aldo, Zabit, and Jair.
Jair Rodriguez.
Yeah, exactly. So he's had
a great fight, man.
What's that?
Rodriguez. That was a great fight, him and Rodriguez.
Yeah. But that one was kind of tough too mentally because he came off the eye poke in the first one, and then they fought a month later. And I think he really wanted to win that one because Jair was talking a bunch of crap that just didn't make sense between those fights. But anyways, it's going to be interesting to see where his mindset is because he was talking about retirement not too long ago, and now he's fighting a young gun like Calvin Kattar. So this one's hard for me to call as far as it goes. Both these guys are going to be standing. To your point too. But to your point, man, Calvin's only lost to Zabit and Moicano
by decision too, so he hadn't been knocked out.
Yeah, well, Zabit's had trouble finishing guys too.
Yeah,
though.
well, Moicano is a finisher.
Yeah, for sure. And that was in the heat of when he was winning too, before Jose kind of derailed him a little bit there, But yeah, this one's gonna be a fun one though. Regardless, let's look at the stats here a little bit. So I got the stats pulled up. Landed per minute, you're looking at a very high paced fight in front of you because Calvin's looking at 5 significant strikes landed per minute. That's a lot per minute. We're talking, and then
that can come back to haunt you.
Yeah, that can too when you're talking about a guy like Jeremy Stevens who has stones for hands and is going to be looking to throw him between there. Because then the other thing too is. You're looking at absorb per minute. Calvin Kattar takes over 6 punches. That is way too many to be taking, whereas a guy like Steven takes less than 3 significant punches per minute.
But oddly enough, their defensive percentage is around the same.
Volume.
Yeah.
That's what it comes from. But the other thing I would say about that too is guys are going to be able to throw more volume if you're not as elusive, and I think Calvin does have a tendency he bounces a lot, but when you start coming in on him, he stays straight up, and that could be a problem, especially when you got a guy throwing haymakers. So interesting numbers there, I think. I don't even know if we really need to see the grappling. If we do,
I wouldn't worry about
it. Maybe if Calvin's landing a lot early, Steven will start pressuring him.
Jeremy Stevens has a takedown per 15 minutes.
Belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so maybe if you see him getting tagged too much, he may use some of his jiu-jitsu in that fight and try and take him down. But I don't know. Like Sean said, Steve's in it to kind of win it when he's throwing his punches. So
he's more of a Chuck Liddell type where he wants to sprawl and brawl. He uses his grappling to
absolutely
get to his striking.
Yeah. And man, yeah, this one's gonna be tough. Who do you have in this one?
This is a tough one because I want to say Calvin Kattar, but I also want to say that Jeremy Stevens isn't going to lose 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And Calvin's there to be hit.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go Stevens.
I like it. Dan, where are you at on this one?
I don't know. Every fight that I've watched over the past 2 weeks, there's the same consistency of those looping punches. And with Calvin, I think he's just going to, like I said, he's mileage on him, and I think he's got the crisper punches. I think Calvin's going to come through with the win. And it's going to be a decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish in this fight.
Yeah, I could definitely see this one going the distance.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right, Sean?
What?
I
said there's nothing wrong with that, right, Sean? Going the distance?
Nothing wrong with that at all. I could see this one going the distance as a good fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. If that's the case, and we're gonna kind of think that it's gonna go the distance, I'm gonna go with Kattar too. I think that he can put on the pressure, even though I know I was saying a lot of stuff, but it's only because I want to see him improve. Featherweight's got a lot of top young guys there.
The
so
thing about Jeremy Stephens is he is what he is. He ain't changing.
No, exactly.
No.
And he's a ton of fun to watch, man. I mean, he's fought the best at featherweight too. But he has
fought everybody.
Yeah, he has. He literally has.
There's nobody in that division that's worth a fuck that he hasn't fought.
No, I mean, he fought Frankie Edgar, Jose Aldo, Zabit, Max Holloway. He's going to be fighting Calvin Kattar.
Volkanovski is the only person he hasn't fought.
I was just about to say that. I don't think he's fought Volkanovski. That's about it. So
he's fought Moicano.
Yep. So this one's gonna be fun, man.
Either
way, Jeremy Stephens is always fun to watch. Actually, I think he was on the record book too. Dan,
do you there with knockdowns?
I want to say it was something. Dan, do you want to go ahead and read the odds real quick while I look? There he is.
Give me 1 second, because on Bovado they have them all over the place. So we got Calvin Kattar coming in at a -250 against Jeremy Stephens at a +195 on Bovado.
They're picking the young guy. I like it. That's good.
Some money on that.
Yeah. Jeremy Stephens, to that point, total fight night bonuses, he's tied in 7th for 10. That's awesome. That's an awesome number there. And then I think he also did, to your point, where's knockdowns? I wanted to look at that again because I think he did submissions.
It's got to be one of the ones with Cowboy there. That's finishes.
Stephens. No. Come on, one more. Oh,
you're all the way at the top.
I must have passed it. Sorry. 1 second. Let me take a quick look at this one. Shortest average fight time. All right. I can't find it. Forget about it. Anyways, let's move on to the next fight.
Woo! I'm excited for this one, boy.
This is your classic heavyweight slobber knocker. Francis the Predator Ngannou taking on, how do you even say it? Jair Zeno?
Yep.
Jair Zeno?
Rozenstruik.
Yeah.
I mean,
yo, man, that guy is coming off. Yo, he is 85 kickboxing fights, 10 mixed martial arts fights. This guy has been in there and just banging. For me, I just see them both as great pedigree striking fighters. Somebody's going to get put to sleep. I'm excited for this fight for sure. Rozenstruik has quite the amount of fights under his belt. And then for me, Ngannou, same as I said for Kelvin, he's just a fresher fighter, so it can go either way.
The thing that kind of scares me about this fight is we saw what happened the last time Francis was in one of these kind of fights with Derek Lewis, where he kind of got gun shy.
And that's
so
what
just
you worry
but
about.
Ngannou came back in the last two fights. I mean,
the danger wasn't there though.
Santos, Blades, we'll see.
Dos Santos wasn't what he used to be. You could knock him out. I think Derek Lewis presented some real threat to him. I think, and he was also coming off a loss at that point, so he definitely has confidence at an all-time high right now. So it'll be interesting. This is like one of the more intriguing fights for me to see how Francis reacts in this type of fight where he knows that if he gets hit, he's going to sleep.
Yeah. He does. I mean, he does have 3 knockouts coming into this. Curtis Blades, Cain Velasquez, and Junior Dos Santos. Those are some pretty damn good names in the heavyweight division to have finishes over.
All pretty quick too, right? They were all first round.
Yeah, they were all very fast. Rozenstruik's on the rise, man. He's a monster, dude.
Yeah, but he just came off of a win with
Alistair.
Yeah, Overeem, and Overeem was on his way out. So,
but you can't say anybody that stands for 5 rounds against Overeem and doesn't get into trouble and they can go the distance. That's a hell of a feat, man. Like regardless of where Alistair Overeem's at in his career,
he's always a danger.
He's always dangerous, man. I mean, he has probably the best kickboxing pedigree, maybe in MMA.
I would think Adesanya and Wonderboy have better kickboxing pedigrees, don't you think?
I don't know, because he won K1 kickboxing though. That's like the premier kickboxing organization in the world.
Yeah, but those guys weren't really around for that though.
No, but
Wonder Boy was
it's hard.
56-0 and Adesanya was like 72-1 or 72-3 or something like that.
Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah, no, I was talking about Alistair. I got confused there. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, let's leave it at this. He's the best heavyweight kickboxing heavyweight. Or at least he had the pedigree. Obviously, he got beat by Rozenstruik by TKO, like in the final minutes of the 5th round, and got that lip split open by him. That's the thing that's weird with Rozenstruik, man. Like he's like a snake. I noticed, like with his fights, is he stands very still in front of you, and he's just waiting to strike. He's like coiled constantly. He just stands very still in front of you.
A Hendo type.
Yeah, I would even say even more still than that. It's kind of it's crazy. He'll just stop moving. He gets in front of you and he has both his hands up and he's waiting.
Yoel
and
Romero.
he's a lot like Yoel Romero, except without like the crazy high guard. And he doesn't move his hands like a lot, but he throws some freaking bombs, man. This is a good fight right here, man. Like, you have Francis Ngannou, who's number 2 heavyweight. He's always going to be sitting there in that position. He could easily be champ if Stipe is going to retire after he fights Daniel Cormier,
or even if he just beats Stipe straight up.
Yeah, I mean, he could after Stipe's had these fights.
Stipe in some trouble in that first fight.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll see with Rozenstruik, man. He's terrifying. I mean, he can end the fight any second.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a toss-up. The odds won't say that, but this is kind of whoever just lands the best shot.
He's limber too, man. Like, he's a big boy, but he can throw a head kick. He can snap up that front head kick like nothing.
So. He's a kickboxer.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to watch him just throw up that head kick. You're like, oh damn, he does that with some ferocity and some speed, man. But this one's gonna be very interesting. I'm interested to see if Francis is gonna be gun shy in this one.
That's what I'm.
Who do you have a pick on, gentlemen?
I think I'm gonna take Rozenstruik.
Ooh, I like that, Sean.
I don't know. From this type of fight, he's the more well-rounded striker. He has the more tools, and I think he's guns blazing in this fight.
Yeah. Dan, what do you think? He
called for this fight, so that's why I'm saying that.
For me, I'm gonna go with Ngannou. I'm gonna go opposing to the both of you. I think, as you said, him kind of standing there squaring off in his own box frame. I know he's got great punches, great kicks, but I just think Ngannou being able to move a little bit more, I feel like he's a little bit more agile, and I think he's got way more power than Rozenstruik. I think Ngannou's gonna put him out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually technically pick Rozenstruik because I was gonna pick Ngannou too. So don't be putting words in my mouth. Okay, as far as that goes. But to your point, that was actually, I was thinking the same thing. I would not be surprised the least bit if Rozenstruik won. Because either of these guys can finish, put their lights out.
This is one of the bigger odds on the card, which is surprising, but I think this is a flip a coin.
Yeah. Definitely.
We have Ngannou coming in at minus 300 and Rozenstruik coming in at plus 230 on Bovado.
Whoa, say those odds again?
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No. Say those odds one more time?
So we got... Hold on one second. Francis Ngannou coming in at minus 300, and Rozenstruik coming in at plus 230 on Bovado.
Oh, if you want to throw money on a fight, this is it.
Yep.
I didn't even read. Wow, that's crazy. Throw your money on this fight.
This one, guys.
Well, I mean, anytime
those odds are favorable.
You always are rolling the dice when you're gambling. That's what gambling is. Is rolling the dice. There's no guarantees.
Sometimes you could just call it how you see it. This one, it could be a blink of an eye. You could lose a lot of money. Sometimes you can.
You don't
call
have to
it
bet a lot of money for this. You bet $10. What's Rozenstruik's odds?
What was that?
What's Rozenstruik's odds? Plus 2 what?
Rozenstruik's were plus 230.
So if you bet 10, that's what you bet $10, you win 230.
No, it's 100.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 100.
Yeah, it's 100, but you would more than double your money.
Still.
Yeah, you more than double your money. I think that's how it works. I think it's it might be the other way around, where maybe if it's the minus.
I know if you're minus, that's what you have to bet to win 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
so you're right. So then if you bet 100, that's what you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's how that goes. But either way, I mean, this is good odds right here for me. If I was gonna throw money on a dark horse fight, it would definitely be fucking Rozenstruik, because again, we don't know what Ngannou's mental state's gonna be when he's coming in here. Is he gonna be hesitant? Is he gonna be waiting? I mean, he hasn't fought a striker like this since he fought
He's known to throw some
Lewis
shots, man. And I mean, if he throws a loop and Rozenstruik sneaks one in.
And he can because he sits so still in front of you, man. Like I said, he's like a coiled snake, and you're just watching him, and he's waiting.
Anything either.
No, so this is gonna be a fun fight. As I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this is not gonna be one of those fights where we see two guys that are absolute monsters, and you're expecting a firefight, and then both guys ended up becoming gun shy. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed, man. I'm excited for this one.
I think Danny probably gave Francis the pep talk, like, yo, man, if you don't come in swinging, bro, you're done.
There is no way he said that. He's just won 3 fights in a row. Yeah,
I'm just talking shit.
Yeah, no way. But this one's fun, and I love those odds too, man. Those odds made me smile a little bit. I'm like, man, I wonder if I should bet on that one a little bit. All right. That's everything that's not a championship fight.
We get to the first title fight of the night.
Yeah, there was supposed to be 3, which it sucks that we lost Amanda Nunes on this one, because I like watching her fight right now. She's just a freaking monster. So it kind of sucks
because she couldn't get enough training camp.
She said something like that.
I think she's having a baby, so I think she's trying to avoid this COVID stuff as well. I know her and the missus are expecting, so I think it was more of like a precautionary thing. It's just not at the right time.
Sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. That makes sense. I didn't even consider that part too. So
I don't know. I knew that they were having a kid, but I didn't know when. Yeah. Everything was.
I think it's coming in. I think the baby's doing the fall.
That's got to be
that's a big factor.
That's got to be a pretty funny situation where you're both professional athletes, and you're like, all right, who's having the baby? And it's like not even, when in reality it's not even a question, because Amanda's like, guess who's bringing in the bacon, baby? It's gonna be me. Amanda Nunes is. Would you say she's like the best women's fighter all time?
I don't even think it's a question, because she's beat everybody that was in that conversation.
Dan?
No, there's no question about it. After she finished my champ Chris Cyborg, I'm like, there's honestly no questions to be had.
Cyborg's not a champ. She's a champ because she ain't making no other weight division underneath 145. But yeah, I agree too, man. I have no doubt that she, even though I had a little bit of reserve when she fought Valentina, but it just goes to show you how good Valentina is to be able to go up and make Amanda Nunes tamed in her stand-up game. But either way, it sucks that we lost that fight, but it's completely understandable. The same reason Rose backed out of this originally. Thoughts go out to her. I haven't been her biggest fan, to be honest, but she lost 2 family members due to the COVID-19 situation.
Yeah,
that's tough, man. That is tough. She was going to have the rematch on this fight. She was set to have a rematch with Andrade, who pile drived her face into the mat the last time they met.
If she would have let go a second earlier, she would have been fine. But
you're still going down with all that momentum, and they teach you to hold on too when you're getting grabbed like that, because if you start letting go, you don't know where your body's going to go to too. So, but she didn't wrap up correct. But that's a whole other discussion. So, it does think that we lost those 2 fights, because those would have been 2 miraculous fights. But we still have one hell of a card here, and we have 2 great championship fights to get into here.
But I will say, I'm walking into the co-main event. I am a little bit upset. I was really looking forward to Cejudo and Aldo, even after Aldo's loss to Morales. I like Dominick Cruz. He's a vet, but I'm not too excited about it. I feel like my boxing mentality, he's definitely going to have some ring rust coming into this against Cejudo.
The only reason I disagree is because I saw him win the world title, regain it, coming off of a similar layoff, but this time he's not even coming off of an injury.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting fight for sure, because Dominick Cruz is definitely bigger and longer, and he has a very interesting style where he hits and doesn't get hit. And Cejudo, he's not really that kind of guy.
He was getting torched by Moraes before Moraes gassed.
He's the kind of guy who has to make it dirty, which he could make it dirty, and he's got wrestling, but Cruz is a wrestler.
It's an interesting time for Cruz to come back. I mean, you're looking at such a big layoff, man. It's been over 3 years for a layoff.
He had a similar layoff, and he came back and beat Dillashaw.
Yeah.
In a war.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm giving Dominic the advantage here because he is taller, longer, and his fight style favors his length in here. Just because, I mean, Cejudo's looking at a pretty big height differential here. So actually, looking at their... Okay, so there's a 4-inch reach advantage difference between them. Obviously, Cruz has the advantage there, which matches the height difference. And that's going to be pretty big, I think, because the thing is he fights long. We briefly spoke about this earlier in the fight. Actually, I think about the Ryan Spann fight is it's hard for guys, but he does it fantastically. DJ Dillashaw stole Cruz's fight style after Cruz beat him last time.
Oh, it was before that. It was when Cruz took his hiatus is when he stole his fight style.
Oh, would you say it was before that? Oh, that's true because that's right. He stole Dominick Cruz's fight style. Like, it's not even a question.
To be a little bit more power style, but yeah, he's straight up just took it.
Yeah, absolutely.
His exact movements.
The exact movements, because he does this weird like little dance move. He hops in and out.
Almost a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And but it's very interesting though, like the way he moves in and out.
He never stops moving.
No, he doesn't. He does not stop moving for 25 minutes. He doesn't have a lot of finishes. I mean, that's the only thing that...
But this is what I was saying. You learned this in the Cody Garbrandt fight. Dude's got a chin and fucking heart. He will... If you knock him down, he will get up and come forward. He did that in the Cody Garbrandt fight.
But the only thing that I'm concerned about is Cejudo's super athlete strength, when it comes to, wrestling. I feel like if he can get into that pocket, as you said, like, Dominic has that reach, that boxing advantage, but I feel like if Cejudo can come in and move out quickly, I think he has the opportunity to knock out Dominick Cruz. I just feel like Cejudo's a very explosive fighter. Cruz picks his punches. He likes to use the octagon in his favor, but Cejudo is just overwhelming. He has an insane gas tank. I'm a little nervous for Dominic. I think Dominic overall is a better fighter, but I just think Dominic Cejudo's pressure is just going to overwhelm him. Same as Cody Garbrandt did. He's just going to overwhelm him.
I disagree.
If he can get into that
I don't think he doesn't have the range. He doesn't have the length, I think, to do what Cody did. And Dominic, I would take his cardio over just about anybody.
Yeah. I also don't agree with that. Like, to me, when I watch Cejudo, he doesn't overwhelm for the most part. Like,
I think the Mariah's fight he did, but only when Mariah.
But only after Mariah's gas and he saw his opening, because he was clearly losing that up until that point.
He pressured, when he won the belt, he pressured Mighty Mouse a lot with.
But Mighty Mouse kind of welcomes that because he's a counter striker and he likes to use angles and.
Yeah, he was moving. I think he was moving to keep up with Mighty Mouse.
DJ still won that fight. But.
Yeah. That's a whole other discussion, but oh my goodness, yeah. But
are either one of you not questioning his ring rust off of almost a 4-year layoff?
Oh, of course.
Even question that at all?
Of course, I am.
Open that I said no.
Sean isn't,
because I saw him come back from devastating knee surgeries on both of them, come back and win the world title against Dillashaw.
Yeah,
and I gotta imagine. He's even said he's been very open about the fact that he does all this analyzing fights and stuff, and that's helped him a lot. Like, he's learned way more than what he has from just training, doing all this analyzing and breaking down fights.
Yeah,
he's got to watch the game so much more intriguing.
See, my only thing is, like, yeah, he's had these long layoffs before and coming off of the knee surgery, but age weighs on you, man. Age is heavy, and I think that weight is going to be carrying that in here
over that time.
No, that's true.
Saves some wear and tear from that.
Yeah,
and I have to imagine he's been training, waiting, because ever since he lost that Garbrandt fight, he's been wanting his rematch for the belt, which I didn't think he deserved.
Mm-hmm.
He did. I disagree with him on that, but I have to imagine he's been training.
Yeah. Well, the UFC's dug their own hole dug their own grave for rematches because they've done so many freaking rematches in their history.
I can see why he'd want it, but I don't think he deserved it.
Yeah, you know me. I do not like instant rematches, save for very specific,
controversial, or long-reigning champs.
Yeah. But to me, I just don't think if we see Dominick Cruz of old, we see any kind of reflection of that. Cejudo's not beating him. He's not going to catch him. He's not going to be able to keep up with him. He's got the gas. He's got the cardio. He can go for a long time. Obviously, much like Cruz can go. Obviously, I think Cruz in his heyday would have had better cardio by far, but I just don't think he'll be able to keep up with him. Period. That's my thing.
Fight style too is it frustrates fighters and it gets them to do things that they don't usually do.
Yep, because he's gonna pick at you and pick at you and pick at you.
It's not gonna hurt you, but it's gonna annoy you. You're just gonna be like, I want to hit this fucking guy, and then you're gonna start over swinging, and then he's gonna start hitting you even more.
Yeah, and he's the best at doing it.
I'm lucky to say that the fighting odds are on my side. Cejudo at the -225 and Dominick Cruz at the +175. So I'm sticking to my guns here against the two of you.
I think it.
Oh no!
I think it'd be criminal to say Dominick Cruz is the favorite.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would have never thought in 100 years Cruz would be the favorite coming into this one. Now, if it was Jose Aldo like he was supposed to, that would be very interesting.
I still don't think a champion like Cejudo. I don't think there's a challenger out there that's favored over him.
I think Jose Aldo has a ton of reason to. He's a big fighter. He's
not what he was before. He's coming off a loss.
He isn't, but to me, like him, his striking, his size, and we saw what Moraes could do against Cejudo. But either way,
I'm not saying he wouldn't win or couldn't win. I'm just saying from an odds standpoint, he should not be the favorite.
I'm telling you, Vegas might change their mind when they watch them stare down each other.
I'd bet money against you for that. It's just the Vegas odds.
We're throwing money against our odds. We are trouble. Anyways, yeah. So hey, you know what? I like being split on this one, and it's because that's what makes it all much more fun to fight. Yeah. Who's going to have their game plan come and be able to go at the best. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words there, but to me, I think Cruz is going to win this one. I think Cejudo's not going to be able to keep up with it.
He's like the tactician, the war general type. He's always got a game plan. He's got one to go in case that one goes to shit.
Yeah. Dan, it sounds like you got a little bit of background noise there.
Dan, we have a guest.
Yeah, we have a guest, little Leonardo. He's calling it with his pops. He's saying Henry Cejudo all the way.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no
raising a family of losers over there.
I was gonna say I'm sure there's no bias in there, but Sean took it another step. And
so Ryan, is that your call? You're calling the Dominator?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Taking over the messenger. We'll see. Like I said, it really depends. Ring rust does have a factor, but Dominick Cruz overall understands how to work the octagon, has a great reach advantage, great takedown defense. Henry Cejudo is very explosive. He doesn't really have the knockout power. He can take you down, but I'm going to go with Cejudo just for the fact that I just think he's gonna tire Dominick out. I don't think any other factor is going to play into it for Dominick. I mean, I do always say ring rust has a factor. He's going to come in a little bit nervous, even though he has all this commentating and understanding of other fights. I just think Cejudo is he's on a streak, man. He's just got confidence through he's just got overwhelming confidence. I think Cejudo's going to pull it out.
Yeah, but it's not, if you look at his wins lately, I mean, he had a controversial win over DJ to start and get his belt. He fought Dillashaw. I mean, Dillashaw, that was the first time he cut down to that weight. He looked terrible. He looked drained. He did not look like himself, and I think that kind of went into the fact that he got knocked out so quick. Then he came up to fight at 135, and Moraes was tagging the shit out of him. He hasn't had an easy road, I don't think. Like, he hasn't had, like, the cleanest road in the title shot where you're just like, by and far, yes, this guy is the best double champ that we've ever seen or whatever. Like,
two-time bantamweight.
Yeah, it's not like he's so dominant, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It's not.
For me, that explosiveness. Dominick does not have that explosiveness, and I just think Henry does, and is going to overwhelm him.
He's dealt with that before.
Yeah.
No, I know he has, but
from bigger guys like
4 years just hanging around, picking things up. Henry's just been in there. I think he's going to pull it off.
Yeah. Hey, and that's why it's fun to watch the fights and see who's going to be able to pull it off and see what happens in the end. So, Even though it's going to be Cruz. Anyways, let's go on to the main events.
Let me tell you something. We all knew Khabib and Tony Ferguson was doomed. I mean, historically, it just wasn't going to happen.
That one was doomed.
They made it a fucking disease. They were wiping out people just to get this fight canceled. And, goddamn, what a fuck. This, all right. Maybe not from the standpoint that both those guys were on such a run that it was such an intriguing fight, but this stylistically is a better fight.
Oh, 100%.
Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje is the wildest fight that you could ever make.
Absolutely, 100%. Both these guys are on the cusp of stardom, and I don't mean just within the UFC because they're already stars in the UFC, but I think even beyond that, just because of their fight styles. And you couldn't have found a better situation to put these guys on the big stage than what's going on right now, and the fact that you're going to have a lot of people that don't typically watch MMA. This is the fight that you would want them to see,
exactly,
to become fans. Like if you're trying to make fans,
I'm more excited about this fight than the Khabib.
Yeah, that's what Sean was just saying too. Is like stylistically, this is the one that you want people to watch and like tune into because this is going to be a firefight. These guys have so many freaking finishes between the two of them.
There's no caution in this fight.
Absolutely not. Well,
I don't care for anything.
I will say Justin's become more cautious.
Yeah, but
he picks his shots a little bit more so now than
Tony starts. Well, I shouldn't say when Tony starts throwing that pressure on. That old, dog in him, that's gonna come up, and he's gonna entice that.
Dude, this, not to mention, like, just going through and picking this fight is so freaking hard. Analyzing this fight is going to be so hard because there's so many X factors that go into this. Tony Ferguson himself is an X factor. Like
you just don't know.
You don't know, and he has such a unique striking style. He switches left to right. He doesn't stay, like I've noticed, especially in his last fights, he doesn't stay on his left side very often, and he'll usually flip out his right hand. He puts his strong hand forward, and he'll flip that out, or he'll do a couple like oblique kicks and stuff like that, and then he'll go back to standing orthodox. But it's in those transitions too that he'll throw weird stuff. Like when he's transitioning, he'll flick out an elbow at you, or he'll flick out like a weird punch from underneath where he just flicks out his arm coming from underneath him up top. He does all this weird stuff from different angles, and you just can't prepare for that kind of stuff, and that's what makes him so unique. And even though people we even laugh at his training style and like all the weird stuff he does, it makes him who he is. He's such a weird character, but he's so interesting. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead. I was rambling on there.
No, my question to the two of you is like, what is your thought on Tony dealing with Justin Gaethje, the highlight leg kicks? Like, how do you think he's going to be able to work around that with his, unthoughtful, elbows and his, his own punches that are unorthodox? How do you think he's going to be able to handle those leg kicks from Justin Gaethje, which are, you can't really expect, you can't really block them, and they're vicious leg kicks?
Yeah, guys have tried to slow Tony down with leg kicks, and they've worn elbows and punches because of it, and they're the ones who've ended up getting worn down. So, I mean, it's tough. You got to land a lot of leg kicks on Tony to slow him down. He's just a guy who doesn't slow down.
I will say Justin actually has one of the heavier. He has one of the heavier leg kicks. Like he could go kick for kick with Edson Barboza. I would say. I think Edson obviously edges in that regard.
His kicks just aren't explosive, but they weigh heavy.
They weigh heavy, man. Yeah. Like you can hear him, you can see him. And I think if he's able to time them right when Tony's transitioning and get him off balance, he'll be able. Tony can definitely get hurt. He gets hurt all the time. Yeah. And
that's what makes it so fun.
Absolutely that's what makes it fun.
What adds to his wildness.
And I think that's what we have to see from Justin Gaethje. I think he's become he picks his shots better. I think since he had that 2-fight losing streak against Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, he seems to pick his shots better. But we haven't seen too much because he had 3 first-round knockouts between James Vick,
but he didn't get hit really.
Edson Barboza, exactly. He didn't get hit a lot. And then what's the other one that I'm missing? Edson. James Vick,
Cowboy,
and Donald Cerrone. He didn't get hit a lot, and that's what he was known to do early in his career.
Who right before he lost his first fight was like, or maybe it was after he lost his first fight. He's like, yeah, I might only have 5 fights left of me at like the top level.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, with his last 3 fights, man, you're extending that.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, and to that point, it's going to be so interesting to see how accurate he can be and how well he can land. And will he be able to continue putting that pressure on Ferguson when he hurts him?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in addition to my first question to the two of you, if Gaethje wins this fight, where does that land him?
Khabib.
Title fight, yeah.
Khabib, or no question. I don't even.
Conor gonna step in there.
I think Conor's getting ready to fight Masvidal.
We got to see what happens. I don't want to say he is for sure.
No, I don't want to say.
Is it Masvidal supposed to still fight Kamaru Usman? Isn't that's contract signed already, regardless of fight?
They haven't signed it. They can't get it signed.
Oh, okay. I thought they had it signed.
Dana just said yesterday that they have something interesting planned for Masvidal, so that's where we're coming with all this.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
something new. That's not Kamaru, because they asked him, "Has Kamaru and Masvidal signed?" He said, "Well, we actually have something different that's very interesting for Masvidal."
Because I think either one of these fighters are going to be a test to Khabib. You know, just their overall. You know,
a lot of people think Justin Gaethje has actually the perfect style to beat Khabib.
They say the same thing about Ferguson. Both these guys, they say. To me, Khabib needs to fight both these guys. Both these guys are extremely long-time lightweight contenders. I want to see him fight both of these guys. There's no reason not to.
But who's ever tested Gaethje's takedown defense? I never really seen anybody.
He's a wrestler.
Yeah, he is a wrestler. He's a wrestler.
Plus, easily taken down by Kevin Lee when he first won the interim belt. I've never seen anybody really shoot for Gaethje, so I don't really know what his takedown defense is.
I think the thing about Gaethje is he's a really good wrestler. You don't see it, obviously, because he just loves his striking. So people know it's not going to be an easy takedown, and you're going to have to close the distance with him. So it's kind of a gamble. Not kind of. It is a gamble.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing will be, obviously, once Tony picks up the pace, if the fight continues to go on, to see how Justin looks, because he does kind of get tired, but he'll still be in the fight, if that makes sense. Like he'll still keep throwing. He's not flurries. Like even when he gets tired, he's not going to stop throwing.
No, but he still has his 3 to 4 explosive, overwhelming, come-ins, either which way when he's gassed. But Tony Ferguson is just nonstop.
And Tony's there to be hit.
Justin Gaethje starts to lean off a little bit and come in with his strikes. So I'm excited for this because they both got extensive gas tanks. I just feel like Tony's way more pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Tony's gas tank's definitely better.
Tony's gas tank's as good as anybody that's ever fought.
Yeah. And he's on a 13-fight win streak. It's been going for a long time. He's fought the best of the best that's not named Khabib or Conor McGregor at the lightweight division, coming off a win against Donald Cerrone, which obviously, remember, he blew up his eye.
He was going to win that fight.
Anthony Pettis, Kevin Lee, Rafael Dos Anjos, Lando Venata, who hasn't lived up to what we were watching from him. A monster fight against Edson Barboza, Josh Thompson, Gleason Tibau. So he's got a ton of names under his freaking belt at lightweight, and he's so interesting to watch fight. Honestly, the UFC is good going forward with either of these guys fighting Khabib.
Yeah, I think they're okay with it.
Yeah, in the winter or whenever he's able to fight again. So, any other thoughts, like as far as like how this is going to go down? Anything? All right, actually, let me ask you this because we did this once before. What are your keys to victory for Justin Gaethje? And I'll start with Sean, and then Dan, I'll go to you.
Start fast and fast.
Start fast and fast.
I just don't think you want to get deep into a fight with Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. Dan, what are your keys to victory for Justin?
I think for Justin, just keep the leg kicks. If Tony Ferguson is getting tagged, which Justin Gaethje has heavy hands, avoid the takedowns. I think the leg kicks are really going to keep the distance, where Justin Gaethje is going to end up coming in against the fence and hit him with some really heavy shots that might tire him out, similar to Pettis. So I think that's the key to victories for Justin is the leg kicks and keeping him pressured against the fence.
I see grappling with Tony's tough too, man. He's so good everywhere. Because my key, that Darce is insane. But my keys to victory for Justin is pick your shots, and when you hurt him, swarm him, finish him. Don't let him recover. You can't, because he's going to be able to pick that speed back up and keep going like he never got hurt. So those would be my 2 keys of victory. Now let's go to Tony Ferguson. Sean?
So I think Tony stick to his jab and use leg kicks, slow Justin down a little bit, and then volume. Mm-hmm. As the later the fight goes, volume. which is usually his game plan. So
yeah,
because he's got the thing about Tony that people don't realize, he's got massive hands.
Mm-hmm.
So he has naturally gifted power just from the size of his hands.
Dan, over to you. Keys to victory for Tony here.
I mean, either which way, Justin Gaethje has power in both left and right hand. But one is definitely stronger than the other. I think to move towards his right side and just keep picking him off. And I think another big thing for Tony Ferguson is just keep up that pace, man. Don't slow down if Justin's starting to catch you with those kicks. Either try and grab them and take them down, or just do the same thing. Go at a kicking contest. So I think Tony Ferguson is just keep the pressure, an immense amount of hands being thrown at Justin Gaethje, and I think the gas tank. If this fight is going 5 rounds, right?
Yes. Oh, are you asking, or are you saying is it a 5-round fight?
I'm asking. I mean, it's the main event, so it's 5 fights. So I think if he keeps the pressure in the 4th round, no matter what happens, I think if he gets to the 4th round with Gaethje's going to get put down.
Yeah. My keys to victory for Ferguson is to not get sloppy in the 1st and 2nd round, put Justin into deep water, and then in those 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds, he needs to pick up that volume to your points and just pick him apart, I think. And if he can put him in deep waters in those later rounds, I think he's golden to me. And that's only because he has, and that's not to say anything against Justin's cardio. Tony Ferguson has world-class cardio. He has next-level fucking cardio. Yeah, and he doesn't ever get tired. So, real quick, let's run through some of these numbers. Significant, oh my God. Look at these fucking numbers for significant strikes. Excuse my language here. So, 5.5 significant strikes landed per minute for Tony Ferguson's in freaking insane. That's a ton of freaking strikes. Sean, what's Justin Gaethje's?
8.5.
8.5. That's probably the highest that we've seen. I think Corey Sandhagen was up there too, about 7 or something like that. Holy crap! I would have that 8.5 landed per minute. That's absolutely insane. Not to mention 54%, over half of the strikes that he lands are considered significant strikes. That's insane. But on the flip side, absorb per minute, over 10. So that means he's taking more than he's putting out.
Those kind of hits from,
and that's all coming from his first 3 fights. He didn't really take any in his last 3.
Yeah. So those numbers could be a lot higher, which is to your point, because he took all those in the first. But could you imagine before?
In addition to that, even in those first 3 fights, Sean and Ryan, none of those fighters threw the amount or can handle throwing that amount of fucking punches or kicks like Tony Ferguson. So I feel like that number stands still. I feel like Justin Gaethje, if he sticks to his normal game plan, he is not going to be able to withstand Tony Ferguson's pressure. I think that number is definitely going to increase. He's just kind of just like a standing punching bag to me, honestly, Justin Gaethje.
We'll have to see. But those are some interesting numbers. Grappling is non-existent for both of these guys, other than their grappling defense is around 80% for both of them, and obviously the submissions go for Ferguson, favor him. So that's actually a good question too. Before we close this one out, who's got the better ground game?
Tony.
Yep.
I don't think it's
I agree. Question. Dan.
Yeah. Better ground game, Tony Ferguson, without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, and even in the odds, they're calling it off of Bovado. Tony Ferguson at a -175, and they got Justin Gaethje at a +145.
Yeah. Too close to call on this one. But we do have to call it because that's why we're here. Sean, we'll start with you. Who do you have?
I'm taking the upset. Gaethje, and I'll tell you why. Because I think he's the perfect storm for Tony Ferguson in the sense that he can get into kind of a wild type of fight that Tony likes to fight. He's tougher than I think anybody he's ever fought. Or I would say he's a perfect blend of toughness, cardio, and power that Tony's ever fought, and volume. So I've just seen Tony get hurt too many times and escape from it. I think he's due.
He's due to get
Plus,
hurt.
Here's something that nobody's talking about. When this fight was originally supposed to happen, what was it, a couple weeks ago? Tony cut weight. He made the 155-pound weight, so that means he's going to have to do it again.
Yeah.
Which, that's got to be taxing on your body.
That's true too. That's
something nobody's talking about.
Well, I think it's because most people consider like if someone's going to do it and be okay with it, that it's Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, it would be Tony,
but still, that is taxing.
Yeah.
That is very taxing. Dan, over to you. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Sean on this one. I love Tony Ferguson. I want Tony Ferguson to win, but just based off of everything, I think Justin Gaethje, as Sean said, is just going to come in because Tony always allows himself to get hurt because he does fall into that sloppy kind of fighting when it comes because he just wants to overpower you, overwork you. He has that confidence. I just think Justin Gaethje has the power to put him to sleep. So I think Tony's going to overcompensate and Gaethje's just going to catch him. Yeah. So I'm going with Justin on this fight. I think he's going to put Tony Ferguson with a barrage of punches.
Okay. I got to go with Tony on this one, man. I just think
you would.
Well, man, I just think that him and Khabib are destined to fight eventually. I think it's destined to get canceled again somewhere in the future before the end of 2020. I think they're destined to fight, and I think he's going to be on a 14-0 streak after he fights Justin here. So
it's very likely that happens.
Yeah, so that's what I'm picking here. The other thing too for me is Justin's been pretty open about being afraid going into this fight, which I mean any reasonable person is afraid going into like a fight like this. But
that he embraces that though.
Yeah, he does. He's like GSP. He embraces it a lot. I would maybe even more so than GSP.
The reason that him being scared like that fear excites the shit out of him, which that excites me to hear because. He's game, man. He's just gonna go in there. He's gonna fight.
He's game, but I think Tony's he's got all the weapons there, and he finds a way to win too, man. Every time he gets hurt, and you're like, oh my god, he's hurt. No, he comes back. He finds a freaking way, and then he lulls you into this.
For that reason, though, I feel like he's due.
Yeah,
like, you can only escape that, especially in a sport like this. You can only escape that kind of.
Damage so many times. I think he's going to be able to do it at least one more time so that way he can get set up to fight Ferguson sometime before the end of 2020. Sure. So that's my pick, man. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Guys, do you have any closing last thoughts before we
enjoy the fights? It's going to be a great night of fights.
Dan?
For me, everybody, thank you for following us. Continue to follow us. We just jumped up a level here on FanStream Sports, so just continue to follow us. I'm just excited about this fight. I'm excited for the next couple of fights, but thank you to the listeners and the followers. Just keep on liking our pages, and I'm excited. This is going to be a great card.
Yeah, awesome. Well said. Everybody follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow or listen in on fanstreamsports.com or anywhere else that you can pick up podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you guys soon, and enjoy the card, and we'll see you guys on May 10th for a follow-up fight.
And pre-fight, I guess, if we really wanted to.
Pre-fight? Post-fight.
I'm saying post and pre, like May 13th.
Oh, for that one. Okay. Yeah. Maybe. We'll see.
Let's say quick rundown.
Yeah. We'll see. But thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.